Hi and welcome. I'm Andy Miocha and you are watching A News. Here are the headlines. Thai-Cambodia border shelling continues despite Donald Trump's ceasefire call. Israel says it will open routes to allow aid convoys into Gaza. At least 11 people injured in knife attack in Michigan. Thank you for tuning in. Shelling continued along the Thai-Cambodia border overnight. Both countries thanked U.S. President Donald Trump for his efforts to secure a ceasefire. Cambodia has accepted his request for a truce, while Thailand stressed the need for a dialogue between the two countries.
Thailand-Cambodia border shelling continues on Sunday despite the US President Donald Trump's ceasefire call for the leaders of the both countries. According to a social media post by Donald Trump on Saturday, the leaders of Cambodia and Thailand have agreed to hold talks aimed at reaching a ceasefire. Trump stated that he had separate phone conversations with the Prime Minister of Cambodia and the acting Prime Minister of Thailand, during which both sides agreed to immediately meet and swiftly establish a ceasefire and ultimately achieve peace. As shelling persisted along the Thai-Cambodian border for a fourth consecutive day, citizens from both nations on Sunday voiced strong support for a ceasefire and welcomed US President Donald Trump's efforts to bring their leaders to the negotiating table.
I agreed with our leaders' call with Trump and US President Donald Trump's intervention in this ceasefire effort so the people can no longer live in fear and both sides can stop fighting immediately.
If there is a ceasefire, things will be better. It's great that America is insisting on the ceasefire because it would bring peace.
Voices from both sides of the border express hope and relief at the prospect of a ceasefire, eager for peace and a return to normal life.
For me, I think it will be great if the Thai side agreed to stop fighting so both countries can live with peace.
I'm happy. Our brothers and sisters in Kantharalak district of Sisaket, or Renewable, Ratchathani, Buriram and Surin would all be pleased too, so that we can get back to our businesses and people can return to their homes from the shelters. That's good news.
More than 30 people have been killed and 130,000 more displaced in the worst fighting between the Southeast Asian neighbours in 13 years. As both sides prepare for negotiations, hopes grow that lasting peace will soon return to the border area.
Donald Trump has said that a face-to-face meeting between Russian and Ukrainian presidents Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky is going to happen. The Russians have earlier said that such a meeting might take place only to finalize an already reached agreement. Meanwhile, Turkish President Recep Tayyip Erdogan announced plans to host a Trump-Putin meeting in Istanbul.
US President Donald Trump says a long-awaited face-to-face meeting between Vladimir Putin and Volodymyr Zelensky is going to happen. However, he expressed his regrets it hasn't happened already. Speaking before leaving for Scotland, Trump emphasized that such a summit should have taken place 3 months ago. His remarks come amid heightened diplomatic efforts to end the Russia-Ukraine war. President of Turkey Recep Tayyip Erdogan is now stepping up mediation. He announced plans to bring Trump and Putin together in Istanbul for direct negotiations. Erdogan said Ankara would hold talks with both leaders this week to assess the possibility of hosting the long-anticipated summit. Meanwhile, Russian and Ukrainian delegations met on Wednesday for negotiations in Istanbul's Chiragan Palace. This was their third round of talks after previous sessions happening in May and June. The Ukrainian side proposed a high-level leaders' summit by late August to finalize a peace deal.
The priority number one is to organize a meeting of the leaders of presidents, where participation of President Trump and Erdogan will be most valuable. A real ceasefire and end to all strikes on civilian infrastructure This can be a crucial first steps towards lasting peace. We proposed to the Russian side to hold such a meeting of leaders until the end of August.
But Russia's delegation dismissed the idea, insisting that a Putin-Zelensky meeting could only occur to formalize an agreement already reached.
For this meeting to happen, we need to work out the deal conditions first and to understand what will be actually discussed at this meeting. Actually, this meeting is not for discussing a deal, but for wrapping it up, signing the final agreement. As the saying goes, the end crowns the work. There is no point in the meeting to discuss all of this all over again.
Still, there was one breakthrough. Both sides agreed on a large-scale prisoner swap. Each side will release 1,200 prisoners of war. Russia also pledged to return the remains of 3,000 fallen Ukrainian soldiers. Ukrainian President Zelensky confirmed that over 1,000 soldiers had returned home, many in poor health after years in captivity. Russia likewise welcomed its freed troops in Belarus, sharing images of emotional reunions. Despite the humanitarian progress, there was no movement toward a ceasefire. The Turkish foreign minister urged both parties to halt what he called a bloody war, but the 40-minute meeting concluded without tangible progress on ending the violence.
Donald Trump says that he wants to maintain nuclear weapons limits with Russia under the New START treaty, marking the first time he has supported keeping the agreement since returning to office.
US President Donald Trump said that he supports keeping nuclear weapons limits with Russia, backing the New START treaty just months ahead of its scheduled expiration. He warned against letting the treaty lapse, saying the removal of nuclear restrictions would be dangerous. His remarks come as the 2010 New START agreement, the only remaining nuclear arms control pact between Washington and Moscow, is due to expire on February 5, 2026. The treaty places strict, verifiable caps on both sides' long-range nuclear arsenals. It limits the United States and Russia to no more than 1,550 deployed strategic nuclear warheads and no more than 700 deployed intercontinental ballistic missiles, submarine-launched ballistic missiles, and heavy bombers designed to carry nuclear weapons. It also includes a ceiling of 800 for deployed and non-deployed missile launchers and bombers. Both countries met these limits by 2018 and have remained under them since. The treaty also includes regular inspections and data exchanges aimed at preventing misunderstandings or escalation. New START was extended once by former President Joe Biden and Russian President Vladimir Putin in 2021. But under its current terms, the agreement cannot be extended again because it allows only one 5-year extension, which was already used in 2021. During his first term, Trump had opposed the extension and pushed for a broader deal that would include China, something Beijing rejected. Earlier this year, he indicated interest in opening talks with both Russia and China on new nuclear limits. Russia has not officially responded to Trump's latest remarks, but the Kremlin has previously warned that without a follow-on agreement, both sides could increase their strategic warhead deployments and lose visibility into each other's nuclear posture. With relations between Washington and Moscow at their lowest point in decades, arms control experts say time is running out to avoid a breakdown in nuclear transparency.
Australia and the United Kingdom have forged a historic 50-year agreement to strengthen their defense partnership through the AUKUS nuclear submarine initiative. The deal ushers in an enhanced maritime defense strategy and the creation of thousands of new jobs.
Australia and the United Kingdom have officially signed a landmark 50-year treaty that will anchor their cooperation on the AUKUS nuclear submarine partnership for decades to come. The signing ceremony took place in Geelong, Australia, marking a major moment in defence relations between the two nations. The agreement, referred to as the Geelong Treaty, demonstrates a strong defence and security cooperation between Australia and the United Kingdom. It is also expected to create tens of thousands of jobs across both countries.
The Geelong Treaty represents one of the most significant treaties between Australia and the United Kingdom that has been signed since Federation. What this treaty will do is underpin the way in which both our countries develop a class of submarine that we will jointly operate.
It is a treaty to build the most advanced, most powerful attack submarines either of our nations have ever had. It is a treaty that will fortify the Indo-Pacific, it will strengthen NATO, and we're the politicians signing it today.
The AUKUS agreement, a trilateral security pact between Australia, the United Kingdom and the United States, was announced in 2021. Its main objective is to enhance overall security and stability in the Indo-Pacific. The project is widely seen as a strategic response to rising tensions and growing Chinese influence. Though the long-term plan is ambitious, it recently came under review after US President Donald Trump ordered a reassessment to ensure it aligns with his America First agenda. Still, key lawmakers from both parties in Congress continue to support the pact. Australia reaffirmed its commitment with a second $525 million payment to the US, while the UK is working to expand its submarine industry to meet AUKUS goals. The signing of the Geelong Treaty signals a firm move forward, even as Washington reviews its position.
US President Donald Trump is visiting Scotland, where he is expected to meet European Commission Chief Ursula von der Leyen and the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer. Trade negotiations are set to be high on the agenda.
US President Donald Trump has arrived in Scotland for a 5-day visit, during which he is set to meet European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen on Sunday. The visit follows Trump's recent threat to impose 30% tariffs on the EU if a trade deal is not reached by August 1st. Von der Leyen confirmed the meeting in a social media post.
Following a good call with the President of the United States, we have agreed to meet in Scotland on Sunday to discuss transatlantic trade relations and how we can keep them strong.
Trump said a trade deal with the EU would be significant, adding that the chances of reaching an agreement are evenly balanced.
I'll be meeting with the EU on Sunday, and we'll be working on a deal. We'll see if we make a deal. Ursula will be here, highly respected woman, so we look forward to that. That'll be good. With the European Union, I think we have a good 50-50 chance. That's a lot.
The White House also confirmed Trump will meet UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer during his stay. Earlier this week, the European Commission briefed member states on the status of trade negotiations and the potential of using anti-coercion tools in response to US tariffs. Member states approved a list of retaliatory tariffs worth €93 billion on US imports, with only Hungary voting against. The EU and the United States remain each other's largest trading partners across goods, services and investment.
Europe's leading car makers face plunging profits as tariffs and global competition weigh heavily on the sector. Our Anita Sharma has more on the challenges shaping the future of Europe's automotive industry.
Hello everyone, welcome to This Day in Europe. Germany's automotive giant Volkswagen sees a seismic drop in first half performance. Operating profit for the second quarter plunged 29% to 3.8 billion euros. That prompted the company to cut its top-end annual profit margin guidance by 1.5% to 5%. Volkswagen cited tariffs, high restructuring costs, and a shift to lower margin electric vehicles as major contributors to its weakening results. Volkswagen took a 1.3 billion euro tariff hit due to sweeping U.S. import duties. To resolve this, CEO Oliver Bloom is considering major investments in U.S.-based production, particularly for Audi and Porsche, to reduce exposure to American tariffs. Market analysts see the results as a canary in the coal mine for European automakers. Some investors welcome a potential 15% U.S.-EU tariff deal, noting that auto stocks surged after Japan secured such terms with Washington. Now, the EU still sees a trade deal, quote, within reach with the United States and is scrambling to finalize the 15% deal modeled after Japan's arrangement to avoid harsher 30% rates set to begin August 1st. But analysts remain cautious about the auto sector, citing a host of structural challenges: a strong euro, sluggish EV adoption, and surging Chinese competition from brands like BYD that continue to pressure auto profits across the board. And Volkswagen certainly isn't alone here. Stellantis, the company behind Jeep, Peugeot, and Fiat, recently reported a preliminary net loss of 2.3 billion euros in the first half due to 300 million euros in tariff-related charges, suspended production, and costly restructuring efforts, despite shipping 1.45 million vehicles, including Rams. The company is also dealing with recalls in a large number of cars. Volvo Motor Group and others are in a tight spot as well. Volvo CEO called the U.S. tariffs, quote, absolutely unnecessary, and warned of collapsing margins unless trade policy shifts before August. EU automakers are lobbying Brussels to negotiate immediate relief using promised U.S. investments as leverage. European trade officials are exploring options such as import mechanisms that essentially reduce tariffs on EU-made cars exported from U.S. plants, benefiting firms like BMW and Mercedes-Benz that already manufacture in the States. At last check, Volkswagen stock moved higher today in Frankfurt. The company plans to slash up to 35,000 jobs by 2030 and double down on EVs, where margins remain challenging. As for Stellantis, shares are higher in Milan, but down about 33% year to date. Investors are waiting for the July 29th report to see how the company rearranges operations in these very precarious times. Overall, the broader auto sector is sending a clear message. Tariffs are not just cost, they mandate strategy shifts. Whether Europe can strike a fair deal is really crucial here. A 15% tariff compromise could ease immediate pressure, but companies warned that without structural adjustments, profits will continue to contract. As the U.S. deadline nears, investors and policymakers want to see if European automakers can rebound on policy promise or buckle under the global cost of protectionism. From Arnhem, Netherlands, I'm Anita Sharma for A News.
Israel's military says it will open humanitarian corridors to allow aid convoys into the Gaza Strip after weeks of mounting international pressure and warnings of starvation. The military also announced it would halt military operations each day for 10 hours in parts of Gaza.
Israel, under intense global scrutiny, has resumed airdrops of food supplies. Military footage released on Saturday shows aid boxes parachuting into northern Gaza with flour, sugar and canned goods provided by international agencies. After months of international pressure, aid trucks are finally on the move toward Gaza. Egyptian state media aired footage on Sunday showing convoys of humanitarian trucks departing from the Rafah border crossing. Dozens of vehicles carrying tons of aid are heading to the Karem Shalom crossing, one of the main access points into southern Gaza. Inside Gaza, humanitarian organizations warn the crisis is beyond urgent. The World Health Organization says starvation is now widespread across the territory, home to over 2 million people. Israel has announced on Sunday tactical pauses in military activity for humanitarian purposes from 10 a.m. to 8 p.m., though many question how safe or effective these windows really are. Thousands of Israelis took to the streets of Tel Aviv on Saturday, voicing their strong opposition to the country's continued military operations in the Gaza Strip and calling for an early ceasefire agreement with Hamas.
We think that there is no point in continuing the war, and everything should be with a solution for both sides. So we just hope that someone will make sure that it happens as soon as possible.
With no end in sight to the conflict, the humanitarian crisis in Gaza continues, and despite fresh aid deliveries, the threat of widespread famine remains.
At least 11 people were injured in a stabbing attack at a Walmart in Michigan. A heavy police and emergency response was seen outside the retail store in Traverse City after a man went on a stabbing spree Saturday afternoon. The 11 injured were taken to hospital and 3 were reportedly undergoing surgery. Police arrested the suspect, saying he used a folding knife and appeared to target people at random. Greece is battling 5 major wildfires across the country. As flames rage near Athens and across Kythera Island, residents are forced to evacuate while firefighters race to contain the fast-moving blazes.
Wildfires have reached communities north of Athens, as strong winds and soaring temperatures fuel the flames. In the village of Krioneri, residents were told to evacuate as fires spread rapidly from nearby Drossopigi.
It started from Drossopigi, inside the valley there, and very quickly, because of the wind, it climbed up the hill, joined with another fire front that was up there, and this came towards Krioneri. The wind is terrible. You see what's happening here, the speed. One moment, the fire is here, the next it's across. Everything is very fast.
More than 140 firefighters, helicopters and aircraft are battling the flames near flammable factories. At least 5 people have been hospitalized, according to ambulance services.
At this moment, if we had left our house, it would have burned completely, like the other time when we left because we were scared. Today we stayed because in seconds the fire was to our right, to our left, all around us. It surrounded us. And we were shouting to put the fire out. Our house is burning, you understand? We would have been left without a home. We must be grateful to the volunteers and the fire service because they rushed immediately. I can't say otherwise, but we are very lucky.
Meanwhile, on Kythera Island, villagers have also been evacuated as smoke clouds fill the sky. Greece faces its 3rd heat wave of the summer, with temperatures reaching up to 44 degrees Celsius. Scientists warn wildfires in the region are growing more destructive due to a fast-changing climate.
Wildfires continue to rage in the Turkish northwestern Bursa province. Several neighborhoods have been evacuated as air and ground crews battle the flames. High temperatures and winds have fueled the spread of the fire. More than 1,700 people have been evacuated from Karahidir, Igdir and Avdancık neighborhoods as a precaution. Around 1,000 firefighters with nearly 500 vehicles and air support are working on containing the blaze. Turkey has finalized a major defense deal with Indonesia, marking the first international sale of its domestically produced Khan fighter jets. At the International Defense Exhibition Fair in Istanbul, Turkish aerospace industries signed a contract with 2 Indonesian defense companies for the export of 48 Khan fighter jets. The deal includes technology transfer and joint production, with deliveries to be completed over 10 years. Azerbaijan is urging Russia to take responsibility for the downing of an Azal passenger plane en route from Baku to Grozny in December last year. Azerbaijani President's aide Hikmet Hajiyev told the German publication Berliner Zeitung that the incident has caused deep public shock and strained bilateral ties. He emphasized that while misunderstandings between neighbors can happen, Azerbaijan expects accountability and justice to be served. At least 9 people were killed on Saturday in an armed attack on a judiciary building in Iran's southeastern city of Zahedan. According to Iranian media, the assault, which has been claimed by the militant group Jaish al-Adl, began with gunfire at the courthouse before spilling over to target civilians. Iranian security forces killed 3 of the attackers and officials have launched an investigation. Zahedan, which has long been troubled by unrest, lies near Iran's border with Pakistan and Afghanistan. Kazakhstan's energy ministry reported that renewable energy sources accounted for almost 7% of the country's total electricity output in the first half of 2025. Over the 6-month period, renewable energy facilities generated 4.2 million kilowatt hours, with wind power contributing more than 60% of the total. By the end of June, Kazakhstan's total installed renewable energy capacity had surpassed 3,000 megawatts. Kyrgyzstan hosted the International Gallops 2025 Equestrian Rally with 70 riders from 12 countries competing in a 5-day endurance race.
The International Equestrian Rally Gallops 2025 was held in mid-July in northeastern Kyrgyzstan. The 5-day race started in the high-altitude village of Kaysart, about 3,000 meters above sea level, and concluded near the scenic Songkol Lake. Teams of 5 or 6 riders covered approximately 200 kilometers. The event, inspired by a Paris-Dakar-style endurance and orienteering concept, aims to showcase not only horses but also diverse cultures and landscapes.
What is very important in the concept is to discover an equestrian horse race, equestrian horse breed, and to find the different horse culture in the world. So with that concept of the gallops, we discover the people, we discover also the horses locally in different countries. So we did already Oman, we did Morocco, we did India with Rajasthan, and we did also in Jordan, and now we do in Kazakhstan.
Participants also highlighted the cultural and scenic appeal of Kyrgyzstan.
First, I want to discover the landscapes and to meet the people, to see how the mountains look and how it is to ride here, because I ride horses in France, and I'm happy to see how it is here in the country and to discover the culture also.
This year's rally marks the 5th edition of the Gallops, a renowned international equestrian event uniting horse enthusiasts from across the globe.
Well, that's all we have for you for now. Thank you so much for watching, and do stay tuned to A News.